National Treasury's latest report on the financial health of the country's municipalities makes for depressing reading, with only 13% of them receiving clean audits. For more on this, we are now joined by Hattingh from our studios in Pretoria. Jan, thank you so much. He is the National Treasury's Chief Director for Local Government Budget Analysis and was one of the authors of the report on municipal finances. Jan, thank you for joining me. So, this is, of course, separate from the report that was done by the Auditor General yesterday that painted a picture of how municipalities are performing in terms of accounting for their finances. You have a helicopter view in as far as spending and managing the finances is concerned. What did your report yield in as far as the financial health of municipalities?
Good afternoon, Tulas, and thanks for the opportunity. So when we look at the performance of municipalities, essentially we look at four dimensions: governance, financial health, the institutional configuration of the municipality, as well as when all of these are key ingredients for improved service delivery. So the difference between the report that the Treasury produced on Monday looks, as you said, at the financial health of our municipalities, whereas the report by the Auditor General looks at governance. So the report is a leading indicator for governance. And now the reason why the financial health has slightly deteriorated, initially, if you read our report, you'll see that in the previous year, there was about 95 municipalities that's in financial distress, and that number has unfortunately increased to 128. And the report obviously looked at 8 indicators, but at the heart of that, is there sufficient cash in our municipalities to sustain themselves? And what the report is trying to communicate is that if you are in distress, then there are certain things that you must do immediately and aggressively then to change your financial health, in the right direction. So both these reports, obviously, we firmly believe will contribute to transparency and will give taxpayers a good sense of a state of affairs with the intention to improve and support municipalities to move in the right direction.
Yeah, and Jan, in terms of the report, one of your findings was that 64 of the country's 257 municipalities had a negative cash balance as at June 2017. That's a really high number, and it includes, quite a number of municipalities. That issue of cash balance and cash flow management is really at the heart of some of the distress that municipalities find themselves in, isn't it?
Definitely. And what we are trying to facilitate and the support that we're providing to municipalities is when they prepare a budget, that budget is affordable. And in terms of the legislation, and specifically the Municipal Finance Management Act, it talks about a funded budget. Now, essentially, we've developed a methodology, and we are providing that as a support to municipalities. So can your liabilities and what you want to do sustain itself? So now the methodology we've capacitated and we've trained almost all municipalities, and it's about trying to change the behavior that you live beyond your means. So if you have and at the heart of what we're trying to solve is if you prepare a budget with a particular collection rate in mind, that on the expenditure side of the budget, that you again take that into consideration. So when most municipalities prepare their budgets and the councils then adopt those budgets, it's with unrealistic collection rates. But during the implementation of that budget, then some of these municipalities are surprised because the collection of the money that legitimately they should collect do not translate into cash. And that's at the heart of the budget process that we would like to fix. Because if you help municipalities with a planning up front and meaningful budgets, then all the issues that the Auditor General raised in his general report systematically will be eliminated. But I guess it's a journey that, and we're busy with this journey now for a while, but it's about changing the behavior and the way municipalities see them living within their means.
Jan, let me take advantage of the fact that I'm talking to you now, and feel free to tell me that you're not able to address this, but I suppose you sit at the intersection between, the municipal systems and legislation there, but also Treasury legislations and requirements. Talk to me about this issue about VBS banking. We got an indication that no less than 15 municipalities had exposure to VBS. Are you looking into that at all as Treasury? Tell me as much as you can, of course, because I don't want to ambush you beyond what you can talk about.
Yeah, Taylor, this is a very sensitive matter, and the Minister of Finance and recently the Minister of Kokta has initiated processes with the Governor of the Reserve Bank to unpack and understand essentially what transpired in these municipalities. So essentially what we know so far, and there's forensic investigations that some of the MECs of finance in the provinces are commissioning. But essentially, essentially what happened is that the legislative and the Municipal Finance Management Act and the associated regulation that guide investments and what municipalities are allowed and where they're allowed to invest their money, I think at the high level one can conclude that some of the municipalities have used some of their funding and invested it in the VSB bank. But it's a bit too early to comment because after the Treasury and the Reserve Bank has done a proper investigation together with the MECs of finance in the provinces, we'll be in a better position to reveal the real facts. So it's a bit of a sensitive issue, and at this point in time I think it's a bit too early to reveal the real findings.
Sure, absolutely. I fully understand. Thank you so much for coming through and talking to me about that. That is Jan Hattingh from National Treasury.